Welcome to the Untold Tales audio anthologies. Written by Dr. Jeffrey A. Robinson and narrated by Melissa Del Toro Schaffner. It doesn't work like that. Bobby, a small 8-year-old boy, believed he could talk to people on TV because they were always talking to him. His father tried to explain to him on several occasions that was not how the TV worked. "The people on TV," he said, "can talk to you, but you can't talk to them."
"Why not? I can hear them,"
replied Bobby. Then Bobby turned to the TV and said in a normal voice,
"I'm right here, aren't I? You can hear me, can't you?"
The announcer on the TV screen touched his earpiece and said, "Yes, I can hear you. Who is this?" The boy just smiled and looked triumphantly at his father. After a moment, the anchorman paused and apologized, explaining to his audience that there was some kind of interference on his headset. Bobby just continued smiling. The father was dumbstruck for a moment and then just decided it was just a coincidence. About a year later, when Bobby was in 4th grade, he and his father were watching a special live program broadcast from the International Space Station, where a new fusion reactor was being installed. The upgrade was important because it was going to improve the space station and allow it to grow significantly in size so it could help with the first manned flights to Mars, scheduled for later that year. The program was being presented during prime time, and Bobby and his parents were both watching. Many people around the world, journalists, scientists, and other astronauts, were standing by, waiting to address the mission commander and the crew on this auspicious day. After the crew chief finished his explanation, the mission commander said, "This is a great day for all of us." Then Bobby blurted out a question of his own.
"Miss Commander, if you're in space, is it night or day there?"
The mom and dad stared at one another and thought how cute it was that Bobby thought he could talk to the crew in space. But the mission commander on the TV replied, "Well, out here in space, it's night and day, at the same time." Bobby's dad's jaw dropped, and he looked stunned. His mother fired a silent question to the father with a look of confusion on her face. But the father regained his composure and quietly explained that it's just a coincidence. Someone else must have asked the same question at the same time. Bobby is just too young to realize that it just doesn't work like that. 20 years later, the boy, Robert Chandler, was now grown and now worked in the same space station which had grown tremendously in size. The station now served as a base of operations for space missions to the Moon, Mars, and Jupiter's moon, Europa. Robert had grown up and earned his PhD in physics and was now serving as a scientist working with a team. His specialization focused on the quantum entanglement of light, and they were using the newly built radio telescopes at the station in an attempt to develop faster-than-light communication that could be used for future missions. One evening, their team started picking up a signal that originated from the star Vega, 25 light-years away. It was composed of the same type of quantum entanglement energies that they were researching. The signal was remarkably strong and clear, but it seemed to consist of a hodgepodge of terrestrial languages, and no one on the team could figure out why it would be so. "Well, it's obvious," said Robert. "We've been sending electromagnetic signals from Earth out into space for nearly 100 years. Vega is only 25 light-years away. Maybe whatever civilization is out there has managed to decipher our language, and they're trying to communicate with us, but they aren't sure which language to use. Who knows? They might be far more advanced than us and could possess both instantaneous communication and faster-than-light travel." The chief scientist, Robert's immediate supervisor, responded, saying, "Well, I guess that makes sense, but what should we do, other than report the signal to ground crews?" "Well, maybe we should try communicating with them. If the photons we are receiving are entangled with those at the other end, the way we've been trying to do, then any changes we make from this end might instantly be reflected with a light at their end. Well, if that's true, then how can we let them know we can hear them?
That's easy, replied Robert. All you need to do is just ask.
Then, without the slightest hesitation, he faced the monitor from which the sounds were being projected into the control room and called out,
"Can you hear us?"
There was a pause in the noise, and then there came a reply.
Yes, we can hear you. We just didn't know if you had the technology to hear us."
"Well, we do," said Robert proudly.
"We read you loud and clear."
Then he turned and faced his colleagues in the room, who stared at him, stunned and silent.
"Well then," said the alien voice, "that's wonderful. We'll be right there."
Then the transmission ceased. It seemed that, despite his advanced education in science, Robert Chandler never had quite accepted that things just didn't really work like that. But now, it really didn't matter anymore because visitors would be arriving soon. Thank you for listening. You may notice it's becoming easier and easier to interact with us and support the show. We love our listeners, fans, and patrons. Please share this podcast with your friends and family and anybody who might be a sci-fi buff. We know they'll love it. And if you'd like to support the show for about 1 cup of coffee a month, you can go to the link on the bottom of the show notes in every episode and find a Support This Podcast link. We value bringing original, high-quality short stories to you every month, and we appreciate your support to keep this podcast ad-free. Thank you so much and have a great day.